The WebEx is now live.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Cumberland County Board of Education Committee meeting. We have 3 committees today. We have Budget Finance, Curriculum, and Personnel. So we will start with Mr. West, Budget Finance.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll call the Budget Finance Committee meeting to order. The committee consists of myself, Ms. Bell, Ms. Musgrave, and Ms. Warner. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Thank you, Ms. Musgrave. So Linda, we've got Ms. Bell with the motion, Ms. Musgrave with the second to adopt today's agenda.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. How about a motion to adopt the minutes from last month?
Motion to adopt the minutes of last meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Warner.
A second.
Eeny, meeny, miny. Thank you, Ms. Bell. Ms. Warner with the motion, Ms. Bell with the second.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, sir.
A 1.04 is consider approval of a 25-26 needs-based public school capital fund grant application for E. Smith High School.
Thank you. So I'm gonna go in front of Mr. Coleman, but as he comes up, I wanted to remind the board, we're talking about lottery money, and I'm sure you all get a lot of questions about lottery money because Mr. Joe Public, they think that lottery money was supposed to solve all of our problems, and it has solved some. But a little over $1 billion of lottery money goes to public education. Now, only out of that 1 billion, a little over 400 million goes to school construction for the whole state now. And remember, a comprehensive high school costs 160 million, okay? Keep that in the back of your mind. So a little over $400 million goes to the whole state. So 100 million of it is allocated by ADM. So they take the ADM of the district, of the whole state, divide it by 100 million, and then they take the ADM of the district and multiply it, and that's how much money you get out of that 100 million. Next, you have $50 million, which is a separate fund. It's called Public School Repair and Renovation, and that's allocated on an equal basis. So they take 114, or they take 258 million, excuse me, they take 50 million divided by 115, and each district gets that amount. Next, you have 258 million, which is this needs-based public school capital fund. And so this, you have to apply for this money. And then that's what Mr. Coleman is gonna talk about, is the application for us to maybe get a piece of this 258 million.
So,
Hold on one second.
yes, ma'am, Ms. Musgrave.
How much is it that we get? You said.
So we get a little bit over, we get close to $4 million. And so currently, about 800,000 of that goes to individual projects. And then the rest of it goes towards debt service that's getting ready to end next year on schools that we built 18 years ago.
So this needs-based grant is for like school consolidation, school modernization, and school construction, as Jay was speaking to. And for this past several consecutive years, we've entered this, we've applied for funds for the new E. Smith High School. And despite repeatedly applying for this money, we've yet to receive any money for the state for this. So as you know, we're in the midst of a comprehensive system-wide facility study, and it's examining the buildings system-wide, prioritizing our needs and really setting up our long-term strategies as we go forward. As you know, the study's not complete yet, and so the results will kind of help set our priorities moving forward. The reason we're bringing this to you this morning is if we apply now, we're effectively prioritizing, if we were to apply again for E. Smith High School this year, just as we have in years past, we're effectively prioritizing E. Smith before the facility study is actually completed. Once it's completed, it'll tell us a system-wide needs. If awarded, the grant requirements would lock us into a project that maybe not would be fully aligned with the data that comes back once our information is presented from our system-wide study. If we don't apply for it, then we run the risk of the opportunity of leaving that money on the table and not having that money to come in. And so, we're bringing it to you today. The grant has a very quick turnaround. It's due October 3rd. So today, we're asking for direction from the board is what we're asking for. Do we want to continue to apply for E.E. Smith as we have in years past, knowing the facility study's not complete yet? Or do we wait for the comprehensive data to determine system-wide facility priorities before committing to anything?
Thank you, Kevin. Ms. Warner?
Because, and this is just in my mind, but because we've applied in this method for E.E. Smith High School, would it not be better not to tag it? That way, if they start looking and looking at the E.E. Smith School District and how it's shrinking and those kinds of things, but if you just somehow applied it for the needs, and then you could base that on, there's a needs assessment coming, and we know across our county that we are gonna need to put a school somewhere. Because I think now what they're looking at, if you look at the data, what they're looking at is the location, the proximity of the other schools that are close by. But the money could very definitely go to the E.E. Smith School, but the idea is, I believe now we're targeting that particular school. And if you look at the data for that school, I guess they're wondering, will they really need $160 million? And that's just my opinion.
In order to apply for the grant, you have to specifically say what project you're applying for. So if we were applying for another, you have to say exactly what it's for and specifically for the construction of it. So you couldn't put it for general needs for.
Now, what I'm saying, put it for a school, but that school to be determined location because of the needs assessment that's coming back.
Okay.
I mean, that's what because I think that's the concern is where is it gonna show up that we need that school? Does that make sense?
Mr. Williams?
Do we know that that's the concern?
No, that's
I
what I'm
mean, my
saying.
question is, do we get feedback as to why we didn't get the grant?
No, ma'am.
So we have no idea why. I mean, we just know we're not getting the money. Is that correct?
Right.
Correct.
My thoughts before I call on Ms. Brown is, that this might be getting the cart before the horse. Obviously, we were, pushing something else for E. Smith last time, several times we've applied, and I think, the right order of events would be to let's assess our needs, and then, that opportunity will be there to apply next year as well. So, those are my thoughts. Ms. Brown?
I'm just trying to get full understanding. When you apply for this grant, well, we haven't gotten it, but if we do get it, we have to say we're using it in this particular manner. Like we either have to say we're using it for construction, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Or we have to say we're using it for repairs. You can't use it for repairs.
Specific school.
Is what?
It's a specific school, so you'd only apply for a specific school.
Right, I got that point, that we're applying for a specific school. But what I'm saying, if we get the grant and it's for that particular school, and you were saying something about the needs assessment, right? You were saying that because we don't have the full information, it may be this or maybe that. What I'm trying to get understanding is, if you get the grant, you can only use it for construction, you can't use it for repairs.
That is what the grant is specifically written for, is the construction of a new E.E. Smith High School. There's not been renovations on the table at this point. All of the discussion with the boards have been the construction of a new Smith. So that's what we would specifically apply for.
Okay. And they have never granted it, it's obvious.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. And again, we haven't solved what we're gonna do with any of our schools, whether it's, try to find new land or tear down and replace. So we just don't know. So I think from my opinion, the easy decision on this is to pass this year, and let's figure out what we want to do system-wide and then get after it. Ms. Musgrave?
I think, we need to go on and apply for it. I think we have been kicking the can down the road a long time about what we were gonna do for E. Smith. And the Republic is just not satisfied with that. So I think we need to do everything we can to try to see if we can get the funds that we need to make it better.
Mr. Chair.
May I
Also,
have it?
I'm sorry,
You were waiting.
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm in the same thing as Ms. Musgrove. I think we should go ahead and apply for it, because money in the hand is better than no money at all. As my mom used to always say, is that, you'd rather have that money, and then if we do go and wanna build, then we have it, cause we didn't apply for it and it's there. then opt to apply for it and then wait till next year, then they don't give it to us, you know? And then we're stuck now trying to figure out how we're going to build a new school. Cause I'm assuming as a group, thinking about building a new school. So is it, you know, I mean, it could be when it, talking about E.E. Smith, I mean, we're really talking about, cause we want, in the past, I think the board wanted to build a new E.E. Smith. So with that being said, why not apply for the money, have the money, and then that way we'll be able to do what we need to with that money when that money comes in to get a new E.E. Smith or, you know, upgrade this building, or I don't know, I don't know if it's an upgrade or whatever, but at least we'll have that money. And it's not guaranteed that they're gonna give it to us, because like you said, last year they didn't give it to us. 2 years they didn't give it to us.
But the,
Thank you, Chair.
thank you. Are we applying for a specific amount? It says up to 62 million for high school.
60 million is what we're asking for.
So we're going to put, if we got it, let's just play the game here. If we got it, we're going to put another 100 million with it, of the 300 million the county is going to give us. So majority of our, is only going to go to the E. Smith, project. So that's the flaw I see in it at this point. Ms. Hales, Dr. Hales, and then Ms. Warner.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. In short, I believe we should go on and apply for the funds that are designated for E.E. Smith High School. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Warner.
Wasn't saying not to apply for funds, but now that if we want to continue on this path, then I say we start letting those legislators that we have that have concerns for us and have mentioned the fact about this grant and asked, had we applied for this before, because they were unaware. Every one of them needs to be notified that we've applied for it and we're looking forward to maybe being successful this year. I think we've got to do that, and maybe through the legislative committee, we could invite them down to look at what we're wanting. Because I think that's the key too, is that communication that we need to do to let them know what we're asking for and why.
Ms. Jones.
Thank you. When we applied previously, we have let them know, including the governor, you know, that we applied for this grant, but still no success. But there's no harm in applying for it. If we get it, great. If we don't, then we apply next year.
That's awesome.
Kevin.
I just really wanted to make sure, as we go forward with our new facility study, I'll just take this opportunity, like, to be completely transparent. That's the reason kind of bringing it in. We have applied for it in the past, but if our system-wide plan goes back and identifies more specific needs for that money, I mean, that's ultimately the reason we're bringing it to you for consideration today, because it may go against what the report says, but I also understand the board's feelings as well, so thank you.
Mr. West.
Yes, sir.
And then just to give a higher view, so the county is still yet to decide, and that's no fault of their own, whether we're gonna do general obligation bonds, which means it goes to a voter referendum, or if they're just gonna issue bonds where they can use existing property as collateral. So that's gonna be a decision that they're gonna make in the coming months, and then that will let us know timing too. So 300 million for deferred maintenance and 160 million for new school construction over 7 years.
So I was wrong. The amount for allocated for new construction from the county is 160.
Yes, sir.
And again, I just reiterate, if we go forward with this and we're awarded 60 million and the new high school is 100 million, 100 million has to go to E. Smith, and that leaves 60 million to go across the rest of the district. I just think we're undermining the 6-figure study that we've commissioned, and it's gonna come in December by doing this. And I think you guys are favoring E. Smith over the district as a whole. Those that spoke for this, so those are my thoughts. Dr. Jordan.
Not favoring. Looking ahead, that's my thing. I'm looking ahead. I know this board, with all of us, we're not favoring no district, no school, no nothing, because we are 9 members working for one goal, and I said this before, for all children in our district. So we're not favoring, we're not putting aside, but the thing is, when you have money on the table, you always try to go and get that money. Even if they would have brought this for Terry Stanford, you probably would have had it, like you said, you might have been favoring. But as a whole, we need to at least apply. You never, even though they might, we might not even have that money. I mean, they might not even give us this money, so this could be null and void, because last year they did not give it to us. So you at least apply for a grant. You never leave the money on the table, and when you're going through stuff, and who's saying that we need to build a building? We can go in and build something smaller than what 100 million or whatever. You can always, adjust and readjust. So numbers and figures and buildings and things like that. So that was
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
Ms. Musgrave.
I really don't see that there's any reason to talk about favor anywhere. E.E. Smith deserves to have a new school, and we need to do everything we can to try to get
Ensure
what we need to make that school work.
Ms. Williams.
Exactly.
So this is for new construction. Does it matter if it's could we go in and renovate what's existing if that was the decision? I think that's my question. Can the money only be used for, you go somewhere on another piece of property or on that same property, new construction, I don't know anything about construction. I'm waiting for what we get back as far as what they recommend. So my question is, can we use that for anything except from the ground up?
The grant is specifically for, you can modernize your building, which would be ultimately upgrades. There's a big focus on CTE programs within that as well, so you could do that, but you would have to specifically write the grant towards doing that.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Brown.
I just want to say one thing. I think we here, as talking today, when we get to talk about sensitive issues, we need to be careful about the words we choose and how we say them, because it's going out to the public. And please don't say that we're favoring one district or another. I think that can be taken the wrong way. As Ms. Jordan has emphasized, we're here for all children. And I just don't want that animosity out there that we're favoring one district over another. So let's be careful in the words that we choose and how we say things today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving forward, this would be a consider item that to direction I would post to say to apply, for us to go ahead and apply for a grant for the construction through the needs-based capital grant funding, board consideration. I guess we need to maybe take a vote today about how we feel about going forward with that. So I ask for consideration from the board.
Information that we approve the draft and could move forward with the grant to apply for the funds.
I have a motion from Ms. Warner. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Musgrave with the second to consider approval of the 25-26 needs-based public school capital fund grant application for E. Smith High School.
That is a split vote, 3-1 with Mr. West opposed.
The motion passes 1.05. Consider approval of the health plan administrative services proposal 2026.
All right, thank you.
Do we want to speak to the deadline to get a board consensus? We gotta get it to the county.
All right, so the deadline is the 3rd,
October 3rd.
and then it requires the county commission, the chair's signature of the county commissioners.
To vote today, would it be adequate to get a thumbs up, thumbs down, like as far as moving forward today to give us so that we go ahead and apply for this on October 3rd? It is such a quick turnaround, it is every year, and that's why I'm coming today during finance versus coming during hours next.
It shows I suspect it'll be favored, so I'm fine with it going through.
To the question, Madam Chairwoman, in terms of just advancing the process and getting this document to the county, yes, if, board members could just indicate their general feeling on this, that's fine. And the actual official action can be ratified at the October monthly meeting. It will come in, because of the split vote, it'll come as a consider item, not on the consent agenda, but you can have the full board vote then. As long as all of the, or a consensus of the board is okay with going ahead and submitting it prior to that date.
Okay, so you're saying make a motion?
No, just
Get a consensus.
throw it open to the board members,
Fine,
and make
move
sure
forward.
you have a consensus to go ahead and submit it prior to the formal vote.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, yes, I'm sorry. Ms. Musgrave, you did it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, 1.05, approval of the health plan administrative services proposal for 2026.
Okay, Porter County Schools is self-insured for vision, dental, and short-term disability insurance. And so what that means is we charge our employees money, we take that money, and then we don't pay a third-party insurance company for those benefits. But we do have to have a company that runs that process for us, right? They print the insurance cards, they monitor the claims, and they assist us with that. And then Mr. Reyes and I, we make the ultimate decisions financially, and then to bring to this board if we have to increase or decrease anything. So the cost for this contract is $221,000. We've been using this company, there's no increase, we've been using this company for as long as I could research it. And with the contract amount, we bring it before the board for the approval.
Okay, any questions? If no questions, how about a motion?
I make a motion for the approval of the health plan administrative services proposal for 2026.
Thank you, Ms. Musgrave. Motion by Ms. Bell and second by Ms. Musgrave to approve 1.05. Let's vote.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. 1.06, approval of Synchro's translation interpretation services.
I'm using all my phone, my friends today.
I see.
So with this contract, it's $250,000. Dr. Whitley will go in depth with it and entertain any questions you may have.
Good morning.
Morning. I wanted to share an update on a company we've been partnering with to provide translation and interpretation services to the families of Cumberland County Schools. Of course, in alignment with our strategic plan, a focus is on family engagement, really understanding the connection between strong family engagement and student success. Additionally, we realize that as a district, we're very diverse. And so when we say we want to reach all families or connect with all families and make sure we can partner with them, all means all. And so as you can see on the screen, we have so many languages and countries represented. And as we're doing IEP meetings, as we're doing parent-teacher conferences, as we're sharing important updates, even if there's an emergency where we need to get in contact with the custodial parent, we're wanting to ensure that we can communicate with them effectively. And so a couple of years ago, we started working with a company called Synchros. We went through an RFQ process. There were nearly 30 individuals who applied, and we brought together a team of individuals to review those submissions. And we decided to go with this particular organization based on their track record of being a national leader in translation and interpretation services, working with school districts and government agencies across the nation. We were very impressed with their technology and the way that we felt that they could align with our goals, even in some ways 24/7 support for translation and interpretation services. Thus far, we've had a great working relationship with them, and currently we're using them to provide resources to our families. And so as of right now, you can see the main languages that we need here in Cumberland, the majority would be Spanish, Haitian, Korean, French, Creole, Chinese, Arabic, and ASL. And so we currently have a process in place where schools and departments can request interpretation, translation services, and even video conferencing and so forth.
I have a question. Consider that I only been out of the school system 2 years. How long do we have this? Or is this just something new?
So we started back in 2023.
2023, okay, because I know certain, before I came out of the school system, you know, when the students were in IEPs, they didn't have anybody there to transfer, but I see you have to request it 10 business days in advance.
Yes.
So that would be up to the EC case manager or whoever is requesting this. And if they do not have this in there, because usually they go get the custodian or somebody to come translate for this parent. You know, we had several students who did not have a translator. And if it wasn't for this particular person that we had on staff to come and translate them. So we have this now.
Yes, ma'am.
And if they don't, and it says requested 10 days in advance. If they do not do this and they do not have the proper translator there, it's on their end, right? It's not because we don't have the services provided for them, correct?
Correct. And there are some other solutions that I'll talk about that if they need, kind of like to phone a friend in the event of a short-term situation.
We've done that too.
We have additional resources with this particular company. So this has been advertised to principals to be able to know how to use it. And the reason why we're bringing this to you today is because of the need to expand. As we look at even the focus of our teachers really focusing on their classrooms, we know in some schools previously, teachers have had to come, you know, and do translation,
correct.
interpretation services. And so this is really a resource to parents, the community, our teachers, our educators, everyone. Currently, there's another feature that if you've called the 2300 line recently, as soon as you call, there's a very quick question that says for English, press 1, for all other languages, press 2. And what this allows us to do currently is any parent who's calling, they can immediately, within 60 seconds, get someone on the phone in their language that basically routes them back to the number and will walk them through wherever they need to go. And so they'll say, hey, I need to get in touch with transportation, I have a bus question, and then there will be that live expert translator on the phone, interpreter on the phone, who will be able to walk them through and get their questions answered.
Great, thank you.
Can I ask one
Yes,
more
ma'am.
thing? So is this, this program or this, service, are you getting good feedback from it? Is it being used? Because, you know, a lot of times people I don't care how much information we put out there, there's always gonna be somebody, and we can't get everybody. I mean, we put it there for them. It's up for them to utilize it. What's your feedback on that?
So in terms of dollar amount, we've spent around $82,000 so far since inception. We certainly have certain departments in schools that use it more than others. I know EC is one of the departments for IEP meetings and such that use it more. We also work with ESL to see which schools should be using it more based on their population. So we are seeing the trends where if they have more families that speak another language, they are using it. Can we push it more? Yes, we can.
Okay.
And that is why we want to come to get your approval before we would go over a threshold that would require board approval, just so that we can really expand it to our principals to ensure that they are using it and that they truly know about it.
Right, because I would hate to say you come and ask for more money to expand something when it isn't being utilized in the first place.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's why I was particularly asking that question.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Willie, is there any more presentation you need to
Yes,
go through?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
You said we've spent 83,000,
Yes, ma'am. Since
and that's since
we launched in 2023.
Okay, that was my question, is how far does that go back to 2023?
And what we're seeing is little by little that's increasing. You know, anything you launch, it takes a while for individuals to catch on to it and to learn the process. So the reason why I'm here today is we need additional support. It is working for our schools, but we realize that we are gonna need additional support. And so what we're proposing is continuing with what we call those level 1 offerings, but with this particular option, we'll be able to give each school what is called a dial-out code. They will have a quota or a certain limit, so they can't go over it. But this would be for those emergency situations, like if there's a safety, security issue, or if they needed to quickly get a family member on the phone, they could immediately dial out a code, and within 60 seconds, they would have someone on the line. And then they could connect later for a formal meeting, but this would help them speak with them immediately. Level 2 offerings would continue the in-person and also the document translation, but also allowing for just that on-demand interpreters. So the feature that we currently have turned on for the central services line, we would love for that to be on every school's phone line so that they could press 1 for English and press 2 for all other languages to give every family at every school the opportunity to connect with someone in their language to speak about the needs of their child. So the next steps, if the board approves for us to move forward, we are going to train the staff. In addition to the principal, we're asking for a designee from the school, someone that our department could work with directly. We have a very detailed handbook and procedures and instructions, and then we would distribute those codes to the schools and continue to share in terms of marketing to make sure that not just the schools are aware, but families are aware of the resources in their language that they can take advantage of. So you'll see on the screen just a recommendation for approval of $250,000 for the 25-26 school year. This would be from Title I funds. It would allow us to maintain the services that we currently have and then expand once again to provide the schools with the codes. And as a department, we would monitor usage on a monthly basis to ensure we stay within budget. So at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I was listening actually to what you said, to train the principal and then one additional person. Do you think that will be enough in case one person is not available that particular day?
That is a good question. We can definitely consider a backup to the backup.
A backup to the backup, yes.
Definitely.
Thank you.
My thoughts would be social worker and guidance. That way they're dealing with, they know who is needy, and also they would be dealing directly with the EC people that would maybe be doing IEP meetings. But those are two people that, in some cases, have a larger department, but I think that would make more sense, and that's a contact, somebody in that guidance department, you'd have readily somebody you could go to.
Good deal. I would definitely make that recommendation to the principals.
Others? How about a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. We got a motion from Ms. Warner. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Musgrave. Linda Warner with the motion, Musgrave with the second. Thank you all. Thanks, Dr. Whitley.
Thank you.
1.07, Jay.
Thank you. I have two quick updates I wanted to go over. So the first one is in January, for most employees, health insurance is gonna increase the cost, right? So this is not by this board or by the finance office, it's a state decision. So every school district across the state every state employee is facing the same issue. The thing that's interesting with school districts is if there's no pay raises this year, then employees' checks will go down, right? So most of our employees get paid the same amount every month. So in January, if there's no raises, their check will be reduced because they have to pay more for health insurance. So I wanted to give you all a heads up because that's a barometer that we use for a lot of our stakeholders, is that when their check is different, then there's an error. And sometimes we make errors, and I'll own that. But this one in January will be because of their higher deduction. And we're working with Dr. Whitley's shop and trying to communicate that as much as possible. But I want to give this board a heads up that in January, if there's no pay increases from the state, health insurance is going up for the majority of the employees, so their paychecks will be less. Cool?
Thank you.
right, one
Dr.
more
Jordan, hang on a second.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Dr. Jordan.
Yes, ma'am.
How much do you know, like?
It varies.
It varies?
Yeah, because some of it's like $10. You know, if you're single, it can go up to a couple $100 because they're doing this payroll band thing. So it matters how much you make is how much you get charged. So there's like 100 different scenarios, but the majority of them, it just depends. Like the more, if you're family, it's more. If you're single, it's less. But there's an increased cost.
Thank you.
All right, next. All right, so we were out of compliance. There's a general statute that says you cannot pay teachers you have to pay teachers every 30 days. All right, so we pay teachers the end of August, and then we pay them at the end of the month, except in November, we pay them early, and in December, we pay them early, and in January, we pay them again at the end of the month. So in that January timeframe, we become out of compliance with that statute. So now we're having to move the payrolls from they're all gonna be at the end of the month. So November, the teachers will get paid at the end of the month, December, they'll get paid at the end of the month, and January, they'll get paid at the end of the month. Now, some people like it because they don't like that 6-week period from December to the end of January, but we do know, you know, I may be guilty, we may finance some of our Christmas presents with that early June. But I wanna give this board a head up, we talked about this in the spring, I wanted to remind y'all again, because we're really, once again, working with Dr. Lindsay, we're really ramping up the communication. So once again, we were out of compliance, so that's my fault, but it's not like a decision that this board made, it was something that we should have been doing.
Great, thank you. Any questions on that? Anything else?
And no, sir.
All right, great. Any other committee concerns? All right, hearing none, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which one meeting? Meeting. Wish to call to order the curriculum committee with me as the chairperson, Dr. Mary Hills, Dr. Terry Jordan, and Susan Williams. And I'd like to first take a minute to really let our new academic officer know that we are excited to have you here. We have looked forward to this occasion with joyous anticipation with the 27
Yes.
schools.
No pressure.
But we know that there are a number of things that you might not be able to talk to us about, so you might want to
Phone a friend.
Phone a friend.
Yes.
I have my friends coming.
All right, we're at 1.02, consider adoption of the agenda.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Williams, second by Dr. Joy. Let's take a vote.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. 1.03 is to consider approval of August 5, 2025 curriculum committee meeting minutes. Could I get a
Move to approve.
second? Second. Okay, motion to approve by Dr. Hales, second by Ms. Williams.
That's unanimous.
Okay. 1.04 is to consider approval of 2025 Red Ribbon Week proclamation.
All right, good morning.
Good morning again.
Thank you for the warm welcome. Vice Chair Musgrave, I do want to take this opportunity to thank you all for the opportunity to serve the Cumberland County Schools community. I'm very excited and I've received a warm welcome so far. But we'll begin with our first item to be presented by Cassandra Stroud-Malloy and Chad Barber for the proclamation of Red Ribbon Week.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am honored to address you guys on Red Ribbon Week 2025. This is a national campaign dedicated to raising awareness about the dangers of drug abuse.
I don't want to interrupt, but I can't hear well.
I gotta speak up.
A little bit.
Okay, I'll use my teacher voice. Let me get into it. All right, let me start over then. I am honored to address Red Ribbon Week 2025. This is a national campaign dedicated to raising awareness about the dangers of drug abuse and promoting healthy, drug-free lifestyles for students, staff, and families. Red Ribbon Week takes place each year, October 23rd through the 31st. During this time, we encourage CCS staff, students, and community to join together for this vital cause. This year's theme is Anchored in Excellence, Drug-Free. We invite everyone to actually participate in dressing according to our daily themes. We kindly ask for the adoption of the official proclamation recognizing Red Ribbon Week and understanding our collective commitment to drug prevention and education. This initiative aligns closely with our district's commitment to providing safe and secure schools as a foundation for our student success. All right. So with that, you see our timeline for the proclamation around October 14th. We also will share resources with our PE teachers on the 14th as well, to include educational resources. We also have some color themed papers that go along with our theme, Anchored in Excellence, as well. And then on the 23rd through the 31st is, of course, when we will also participate in our theme weeks. So we look forward to seeing that. In an effort to spread awareness across the district, we want to share those pictures and activities throughout the week. So look forward to getting your themed outfits together, because we'll be doing that Monday through Friday, 27th through the 31st, and we love to see you participation. So thank you for your attention and support in this important endeavor.
Just on the dates that you have on that very first slide, shouldn't it be 10/27, 10/28 instead of 8?
It was updated, and I'm not sure why that adjustment didn't change, but it was updated.
Yes, that would need to be corrected, because it looks like we're approving something that's already happened.
Yes, ma'am. It was updated, and I'm not sure what happened with that particular slide, but it was updated.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was updated. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second that motion.
Okay, motion to approve by Ms. Williams, second by Dr. Hale. Thank you. 10.05 is to receive, thank you all very much.
Chad, so quiet.
Is to receive 2025 CTE internship report.
So this information is for you to receive, and my next friend, Mr. Chip Lucas.
Thank you, Dr. Williams-Leathers, and good morning, board. We'd like to bring you the activities that occurred over the summer. Some of our board members engaged in these, but we want to give you an update on our work-based learning, specifically internships and things that look like internships. Our report does align with our strategic priorities, specifically around our successful students and working with many committed community partners. We have a work-based learning continuum in Cumberland County Schools that begins in the 5th grade elementary level, with students gaining awareness about work. While in middle school, they learn through work, identifying areas of interest for careers and begin more focused exploration. And then our high schoolers that you'll learn about today learn for work by developing technical skills and work-related experiences for career readiness. And at each level and every opportunity, they are able to discover their interest and engage in career-based tasks, gain meaningful experiences that reinforce technical and academic and durable skills, and pave the way for future opportunities to maximize their interactions with our business community. I'd like to bring your attention to something entitled District C. District C is a nonprofit organization. It's committed to project and work-based learning and a philosophy around instruction for students in a think design model that provides real experiences, team processes, and flexible mindsets, creating real value, coaching, diversity, and access beyond traditional learning experiences. This summer, you can see we had 124 students to participate. Thank goodness to that last bit of ESSER funding that we had. And those students were rising 10th through 12th graders. And 36 student teams solved problems for real business problems in the community with our community business partners. And what made this a rich experience is that, well, we had 6 certified coaches working with 3 different cohorts throughout the month of June. And this year, we partnered with the Mid-Carolina Regional Council, the Workforce Development Board locally, which is a 5-county workforce board. And out of these 124 students that participated, 31 were able to move on to internships through the My Future So Bright program, summer work program, which is sponsored by the Mid-Carolina Regional Council and the City of Fayetteville, and it's backed by the NC Works program. So that was an added bonus and literal bonus for those students that went through the District C program. They received a stipend, but then many got to go on and work through the city's program, My Future So Bright. These are the business partners that we work with, and the students solve problems for these 12 local business partners. They ended the week with a pitch event where the students pitched the idea or the solution for the local business or industry in front of a live audience. So that is the first program that we did, District C. And of course, we had Dr. Jordan and Ms. Bell came out to this closeout. You can see them on the front row here. Our ICON Innovative Career Opportunities Now Summer Internship Program. This is a summation of that. 137 students participated, 30 businesses were represented, and over 16,000 hours of paid internship experience were given there for the 137 students. This was our closeout ceremony at FTCC. If you've been before, it's like a science fair. The students are able to set up themselves in a booth style, and our partners came through and actually were able to talk and engage with the students around their experiences during this past summer. These are the business partners, the 30 that we did work with over the summer and hosted these icons. We like to call them icons because they really they represent sort of the portrait of our student in career and technical education that is an example of a successful student in Cumberland County Schools. Another point of pride that we really enjoy is working with our local pipelines, with our Cumberland County Schools technology departments, as well as we've been working with Mr. Coleman in operations for the past 2 years. So students in our IT academies are able to work with the technology department. A lot of the mentors are over here that they work with, and they're able to gain real world experience in that department. We also have been working with auxiliary services in the areas of plumbing and carpentry and grounds, furniture, textbooks. This summer, they had a lot to do in the textbook department in general services. So those 17 students were able to earn over 3,000 hours of internship experience. And just some examples here, the student right there that's working on one of many Chromebooks that they were able to take apart and get ready. That student is wanting to work in artificial intelligence in the future. And also we have students there that are loading smart boards or into the truck. So many students got many experiences through those two departments. And then finally, we're just trying to unlock the potential of tomorrow's leaders. You can see here that we had students that worked, as I said, in our operations. We had a junior from E.E. Smith High School to work, and a junior from Massey Hill that worked at the City of Fayetteville there with Mayor Mitch Colvin, and they learned more about reading and writing on the job, and their skills were developed drastically by having those co-workers to provide and great feedback to them and give them constructive skills building on the job. Students from Grays Creek High School, AOIT, the Information Technology Department, they learned about the heavy lifting that goes on behind the scenes in the technology department. Some of them do not want to do the required labor like that and do all that heavy lifting, but they at least get to explore what the jobs are about, all aspects of those jobs. We had a student to work with Sustainable Sandhills, the student that is taking the pictures there at the creek. They also were able to utilize their drone skills. Sustainable Sandhills was able to put some students utilizing the drones to be able to take pictures for that nonprofit. And we even had a student that worked at Subaru there to gain better time management and being determined that they want to be an auto technician as they pursue their career. And then we also had a student from 71st that interned with Warren Insurance. So that's our, in a nutshell, our programs this summer. I'd like to thank Emily Freeman, who is in the audience. She is the lead District C coach for the district. And we could not do some of the things without the career development staff within the district helping us with these initiatives.
Also like, a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
And your whole team. I think this is fabulous.
Yes,
It is
yes.
absolutely fabulous. I'm
Expand.
proud to be part of Cumberland County to say this. I just wish they kind of had this when my son came through. You can save a lot of money. But this is just outstanding. On that second note, how do businesses become icons? I mean, do they get like a tax break? I mean, to encourage more? Because do you have a construction in there?
We have in the past worked with Blue Ridge Power, has been one of our partners. But that is, and then of course, we are working with Mr. Coleman in some of those areas that we sort of started in the general service areas, but we are exploring now our pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship opportunities that we can do in the more adult, or don't want to say hazardous occupations, but those that will require more accountability, so to speak. Yes.
I especially love the acronym.
You do? Okay.
I
We
do.
have a lot.
And the words that, I do, and the words that it stands for, because it's just so powerful. And oftentimes, we need to let our students know that they're doing powerful things and use the powerful terminology that they can get to use so they become accustomed to it and start using it themselves. So I love that. I love what you're doing. Now, do we have plans or any avenues of inviting other businesses, organizations, et cetera, to participate?
Absolutely, and I had my first sit down with my new supervisor yesterday, so we have received the innovation grant through the Education Workforce Innovation Fund. So that was written specifically around with the Mid-Carolina Regional Council, how we could work with local industries around the trades, and include more of those businesses in those particular areas. Everyone needs trades, folks, including ourselves.
Exactly.
So we have that grant that we are working through. We also are the local partner for in-school youth services through the Mid-Carolina Regional Council, and we are the Cumberland County Area Service Provider. So through that avenue and the Workforce Development Grant, we are engaged in business services, and folks like Emily are out working with business services reps and trying to recruit those businesses. But at least we don't have to start from scratch. The Mid-Carolina Regional Council has their own set of business partners that they're working with. And so we're committed through those avenues, as well as the linkages through the community college, to include some of those partners that they're working with as well. So we have lots of things that we're working on, and hopefully we can come back later and give you some.
Great, because our kids need various avenues that they can show their expertise in. So thank you so very much.
Absolutely.
Are there other questions? Well, thank you, for such a.
That was great.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, really great.
It's almost as good as when you took me to New York.
Oh, that's right. You're gonna tell everybody about it. We need to go back. Thank you all very much for your support. Appreciate it.
I wanna be invited.
You,
Me too.
me
Let's all
too.
go.
Let's all go.
Several shows I want to see.
Item, thank you. Now, you can receive, the school progress success plan and instructional support. Now,
Thank you. So this is our final item. Dr. Catalano and Dr. Fields will present this with me, but this is our school success plan and instructional success model for your information. So as you all know, our accountability results were shared by Kim Nash earlier this month, and there were some clear celebrations. District-wide proficiency held steady at 50.8%, with more than half of our schools showing improvement and 7 schools achieving gains of 5 percentage points or more. Standout subject level growth included nearly 9 percentage points in high school math 3, over 6 percentage points of growth in 7th grade reading and math, and nearly 3 percentage points in work keys, our career readiness assessment. The graduation rate also increased to 86.3, and the ACT results improved with more than half of our students meeting the updated benchmark. And also to note, teacher retention rose from 85.6 to 87.2. We also know that we continue to have work to do to meet our mission of preparing our students to reach their maximum potential. We know that the number of low-performing schools increased from 15 to 27. Most of those schools did meet growth expectations. Several did improve student achievement, and 7 even raised their numerical school performance grade. But across the board, there's still much work to be done. So this model is intended to provide instructional leadership teams with customized academic supports from a designated central office team to serve as a strategic partner in improving instructional quality and fostering continuous improvement. This partnership moves beyond a one-size-fits-all model to deliver diagnostic, responsive, and data-informed guidance that addresses each school's unique context. This plan demonstrates the partnership among several departments, which is why Dr. Fields, Dr. Catalano, and when you see it, you'll see every other department recognized in this plan. We wanted to make sure that everyone knew that this was a Cumberland County School Success Plan, not just an academic services plan. Of course, it's aligned to our strategic priorities: successful students, exceptional environment, premier professionals, and committed community. And it's in service of Dr. Bracey's school goal that he charged all principals with improving their proficiency by 5 percentage points and meet or exceed growth as determined by end of grade or end of course assessments. So that means if a school was at 45% this year proficiency, they should be at 50 in 2026. And everyone is aware of that goal. So what's gonna drive the work? We engage in Cognia's accreditation process to gain an objective validation of our quality of schools. And we just had that report last year. In the interim between now and our next accreditation, we wanted to use their framework to assist in a structured and ongoing process to improve student outcomes and overall effectiveness. With that in mind, this will drive our work. By embedding Cognia's key characteristics, the support is designed to build a school's overall capacity. These characteristics will be embedded in our professional learning opportunities for all stakeholders in our community, and we also will utilize Cognia's walkthrough tool, Elliott, at the district level and school level to ensure alignment. Throughout this plan, you'll see our work centered on a culture of learning, which I'll let you read these definitions, but overall, it includes having an equitable learning environment and making sure that all of our students have opportunities to have their learning. And a teacher with high expectations. What does it mean to have a teacher with high expectations in every single classroom that knows that every single student has the capacity to actually do the work? And then how do we create a sense of community within our school buildings and within every single classroom? We also want to concentrate on leadership for learning. And so what you'll hear moving forward is a plan for how we not only build the capacity of school leaders, but how we build the capacity of an instructional leadership team with an aligned focus on improving student experiences and outcomes. And we also want our students to be engaged in their learning. So we want them to have opportunities to engage in dialogue with their teachers and peers. We want them solving problems, asking questions, sharing resources, just to be involved in the actual learning process. We plan to ensure that our schools use the selected and approved curriculum resources to make this happen. This will also ensure that our students have access to grade level assignments and instruction, since our unit and lesson guides are aligned to standards. And then we finally want to make sure that we're concentrating on growth in learning. So we want to have progress monitoring through regular data analysis sessions, which you'll learn more about today, at the district, school, and teacher level to ensure we have that continuous improvement. Ultimately, this customized support enables our schools to systematically identify strengths and challenges, implement targeted improvements, and create a sustainable system of academic achievement for all of our students. So by now you're saying, so what does all that mean, right? And so the first thing we wanted to do is tier our schools to figure out what support each one needed. So we've given a lot of thought to what support our schools would receive from central services. We wanted to prioritize our schools to receive support, and then we wanted to think about what that support looked like. So 3 main data points went into this. We looked at state and federally identified data, staffing data, and trends over time. Historically, we've tiered schools for support using mostly state achievement data. In order to support schools in not moving on and off of a low performing list, we also wanted to include staffing. We know that staffing can directly impact student outcomes. So we felt this was an important addition. We also looked at trends over time to continue to meet needs of our schools. So again, those schools don't continue to come on and off based on some of the support that we're providing. And so with this tiered system, we'll be able to strategically support the schools with the most need in an intensive manner, strategic and foundational. And so Dr. Catalano is gonna go into what that support will look like moving forward.
Thank you. Ms. Musgrave, before I get started, I just wanted to join you in your warm welcome of Dr. Leathers. While her first day was actually Monday, she has engaged with district staff for several weeks to build this plan. So I bet she'd be able to answer more questions than you. But anyway, so this chart depicts what the support would look like for those tiers. We've given a lot of thought to what all schools will receive, including those that need strategic and intensive support. And so some of the things that you'll notice within the support structure in that foundational support, an addition of monthly vertical team instructional data talks. And this is to honor the history and rich tradition of our vertical teams and the principal leadership that comes out of that. And then think critically about the specific needs that attendance areas have, because each one of our 10 attendance areas have unique and specific needs. And so this opportunity will provide vertical team principals and instructional leaders from the school buildings an opportunity to look at a variety of data, not just academic data, but behavior, attendance, staffing, all sorts of data on a monthly basis. And I'm gonna unpack for you shortly what that protocol looks like for those data meetings. And then also you'll see monthly required instructional leadership team professional learning. And so what's new about that is we've always had principal leadership, assistant principal leadership, and instructional coach and MCL leadership. But what Dr. Leathers has asked us to do is really align those three meetings so that what the principals are getting relevantly, right? Like is what the assistant principals are getting and what the coaches are getting, so that as a principal, I'm better equipped to be able to manage that implementation in my building because I've got more than just me that received that information. So the other things up there, core content professional learning. So that's our system-wide professional learning that happens with all of our teachers 3 times a year, and then monthly for core content areas. And then school improvement plan coaching, which the area superintendents engage all of the schools in. As you move up the continuum, you'll see those tier 2 strategic schools will receive more frequent touch points from a cross-department school support team. So we've always had a model where the area superintendents and the core content specialists frequently went into buildings together and supported instruction. What Dr. Leathers has asked us to do, and Dr. Fields is going to unpack who that team is pull in other departments so that there will be support from across district departments, not just core areas. And I'm going to share a sample of what that may look like. District Elliott walkthroughs. Something that we had done a couple years ago was get a district team together when we were engaging in collecting the data for the Cognia accreditation. We had a district team go in and do Elliott learning walks. And so we've added that back in where a district team will go in and do Elliott learning walks at our strategic schools as a team so that they can be looking at instruction and then thinking critically with the instructional leadership team about how we can support from a district level next steps. School improvement plan coaching comments quarterly for those strategic schools. And then as you move up to intensive, you'll see many of those things become weekly touch points for our more intensive schools. And so what does that look like? So we just picked at random a tier 3 intensive support school and just showed you what a hypothetical month could look like. So the first section shows what the visits could look like from specialists. So maybe on the first week, the ELA specialist goes in to support the school. Maybe the next week, the math specialist goes in. Week 3, maybe the ELA specialist, and then week 4, the EC specialist. And all of this is aligned to those next steps that are uncovered during those monthly vertical team data meetings. I will say this has started, and what we are seeing often happen is that the specialists go in together, so we can make sure that we've got some aligned support. So maybe an EC specialist is going with the ELA specialist. And you'll also see, we lifted up EC specialists here, but Dr. Fields is going to share other departments. So that might be someone from our AIG department, it might be a data analyst. So there's just a team of people that would go in and provide visits and support to this tier 3 school. Weekly visits from the area superintendent aligned to, again, those next steps that came out of that vertical team instructional data talk. Learning walks using the Cognia Elliott walkthrough tool, and maybe that happened twice with some of the specialists that went in. All district team members have been trained in using the Elliott, so it's not just the ELA and the math specialist. And then a school improvement plan review with comments that are completed by the area superintendent. So that's just a hypothetical illustration of what a month of support could look like for a particular school. And then this slide, we've spent a lot of time with data and accountability and really across departments thinking about critically what we mean when we say analyze data. And we have identified a protocol that will be a universal protocol that we use regardless of the data point, regardless of who is analyzing the data with a school or even with a district team. And what you'll notice is lifted up and really different about this is not just looking at the data, not just diagnosing what the problem is, but really spending some time on action planning and translating those insights that come out of the data into next steps, and then not stopping there. The last step is accountability. So how are we going to hold each other accountable for making sure that that next step that we identified is actually going to happen, and that you've got support to make that thing that came out of the data occur.
I think they've pretty much touched on the things that I was going to talk about, but I can go a little bit more in depth about some of the district structures. Just sharing that you can see some of the keywords. If I were doing a lesson, I'd say, pull out some of the keywords of the focus area, and it's cohesion and alignment. And that's what we're trying to do, is build a cohesive system of supports that focuses on another keyword, priority initiatives. You've heard when you visit schools, we've heard from schools that we often are guilty of giving them too much. And if we're going to focus on the main thing, and the main thing is student achievement, we have to skinny our focus and make sure that we are aligned around priority initiatives, and that is the work in the school. And what that would yield is an impact of improved coordination. You see the word accountability. She's already talked about the mutual accountability and responsiveness across multiple departments. I think another theme that you've probably heard is cross-departmental collaboration. Just to touch again on the district support teams, it is a newer team structure that is grounded in the mutual accountability. Not only are schools accountable, we're accountable. We are accountable to one another to make sure that what she mentioned, the next steps and the improvement that we're trying to yield in schools takes place, and we're all accountable for that work. And in order to more effectively do that work, we have an aligned structure, a newer team structure that we've tried something similar in years past, but it's an area superintendent. As Dr. Catalano said, they've always worked with a team of curriculum specialists, but this year it's a smaller team. so that there is continuity. So the area superintendent works with Dr. Catalano and a small team of curriculum specialists supporting those schools. We also have the data and accountability specialist, and this year there are designated EC support specialists assigned to schools so that we can make sure the support is aligned and we're all working collectively towards helping schools achieve their next steps. We've heard you say, we spend a lot of time unpacking data. You saw the common district data protocol. We have not taken a common approach to how schools do that. They've kind of used their own protocols. There have been multiple protocols. So this is going to streamline the work of looking at data. And the big piece that comes away from that is the next steps. When you go to the doctor, they're very clear, at least they are with me. Jane, you watch your cholesterol, you need to eat better, exercise, do these things, and we'll measure it again when you come back. For me, I didn't do those things and we're still measuring it when I come back. So that's what we see a lot of times with the data. So we've got to be very prescriptive with the next steps like you would get from a doctor that says, these are the things that we're doing. There are a few prescriptive next steps that we can monitor and support more efficiently and streamlined around those key priority areas. Coaching, the best professional learning is embedded within the schools, and we do utilize a district support team, as we've just described, to provide a lot of that coaching to the various stakeholder groups within schools, from instructional coaches, MCLs, principals, and assistant principals. They've already talked about the weekly support visits. The biggest game changer, I think, that you've also heard about is we found time within the vertical team structure to really work with schools around looking at their data and identifying the next steps. So now what? Here's the data. You have helped me make sense of it. What are my next steps as a central office team in order to help you? And what are your next steps? And we know that next month we're coming back. We're monitoring in the interim through those school visits. But next month, when we come back, we're going to analyze the progress that you've had in achieving those next steps. And then the communication protocols. We have a cross-departmental tracker that we're going to use so that everybody makes sure that we are on the same page. Additionally, we have meetings twice a month where the area superintendents will meet with the curriculum and instruction team to make sure that they are aligned with their work in the schools. They're addressing concerns and the progress monitoring of the work that's in the schools. Twice a month, the CNI team also meets with the other groups of specialists, the EL, AIG, and EC, to make sure that they are brought into the fold with the school improvement work. And we just had our first meeting a couple of days ago with Dr. Williams-Leathers, myself, and Dr. Chalmers-McLean to make sure that we're aligned across student support services, school support, and academics. The school structures, it's more of the same, ensuring you've heard them talk about the functioning of an instructional leadership team, making sure our professional learning is aligned, that the assistant principals are hearing the same thing as principals and coaches, so that the work is more aligned when they get back into the buildings, and there's a strong team that can help with the workload. We are also, we talked a lot last year about Solution Tree, and they came and provided professional learning to every staff member in Cumberland County Schools. So we have also, we're building on that professional learning, and we've once again narrowed that focus so that PLCs know that they are going to be working on, we like to use that word unpacking, but really looking at the lesson to make sure that they understand the lesson and the unit of instruction, so that when they a teacher steps foot in front of their classroom, they have a deeper understanding of what that lesson is supposed to look like in front of children. Staff familiarity and engagement, making sure that the school improvement team, of course, is meeting on a monthly basis, but the entire school staff understands the work and the school improvement goals. And so we are asking that principals will share their SIP progress with staff quarterly to make sure that there is that transparency with the communication and progress reporting. And this slide is pretty self-explanatory. It just outlines the different district teams that are responsible for helping schools achieve their goals. And it ensures that all of us at the district level understand what it is that we're supposed to do. This is going to help us provide more consistent communication to schools, a common language, a common message, and therefore we're better able to align our supports and progress monitoring.
So another area of cross-department collaboration over the last few weeks has been defining exactly what we mean. What does a visit look like and feel like and sound like when you're in a school? To make sure that we've calibrated that across district departments. So we've identified 4 levers that teams will engage in when they're in buildings. And so those are learning walks, collaboration to maximize effectiveness, data analysis, and consultation on that person's or that department's particular area of expertise. And so in addition to naming the levers, Dr. Fields mentioned that we have a tracking protocol that will be in place that will help district departments think critically about the support they provide and then refine as needed. So for example, if all you're doing is learning walks and diagnosing what the problem is, this tracker will allow us to think critically as departments about, well, have we had some conversations about collaborating with the instructional leadership team or consulting on specific areas of professional learning that a school needs, in addition to just diagnosing the problem, right? And so that is something that, this is something that will hopefully align support for schools and make it easier for them to make the shifts that we need to make to transform instruction in each and every building across the district.
Thank you, team. We are open to questions. Oh, that went fast.
Makes me nervous.
There you go.
It's a lot.
Madam Chair. All right, good morning. Thank you all for your presentation. It is really appreciated. Would you describe to me or define the Elliott walkthrough tool?
So the Elliott is a walkthrough tool centered around, I think it's 6, maybe 7 learning environments. All of the look-fors are student-centered. So when you go in, you're not looking at what's on the walls or what the teacher is doing or saying, but they start with the learners are. So you're looking at students and how they're engaging in the learning environment. And so it's norm referenced, and it gives some really high quality data for instructional leadership teams to look at and then coach around.
Okay. My second question is, I heard you say this person, that person, this person, that person, we'll be going over various times, so many times per month, week, whatever the case might be. Let me just share something with you that I experienced personally as a principal. 6 people came to my school. All 6 went into the classrooms. All 6. Teacher up teaching. What do you think the students are doing? Watching everyone who's walking around in their classrooms. I know that you have protocols. I know that you're going to have your various methods or who you'll be assigning to which classrooms to go to, at what time to go to them, for what reasons, and the reasons for them to go. But I'm here to tell you, with some of our very, very important schools, and you do understand what I'm saying, once you get those students off task, it takes forever to get them back onto task. So I would just say, be mindful of how you structure your walkthroughs and who you send in and whatever you use, because at that time it was the laptops, not too long after laptops came into existence. And they're walking through the classrooms and they were doing this on the laptop, the kids okay? Some of our babies cannot. It's, for them, you're a new person coming into their classroom. So you're disrupting their instruction. They take their mind off of it, and then the teacher has to bring them back to the task on hand or at hand, however you want to put it. So I'm just saying, just be mindful of how everything is structured. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning again. Before we get that far down the road, I would like to know, what's the difference between the two plans, between the previous plan and this plan? Because when I look at it, I don't really see a lot of difference. So with all this big presentation, and so that people don't get lost in the process, point out to me the two differences between the previous plan and this plan. Because with my limited knowledge, it looks like a lot of copy and paste. So help me there.
So I'll start and then I'll let Chris layer in. So as you know, I was not here last year.
So that's why you got your phone free.
Correct, but I do wanna respond because I did look at PACE, and in theory, PACE was a great model within itself, right? Like if it was done with integrity and implemented across. However, one of the places that you did see the difference is alignment, right? So to Dr. Fields' response of having one team, the area superintendents last year had several different specialists that they were working with. So they may have 3 ELA specialists that they were working with rather than just one designated. That also meant that they couldn't have designated time to meet with them on an individual basis to talk about schools. So that's one piece. The other piece is the alignment to Cognia, right? To make sure that we're using our accreditation report and to make improvements so that the next time we have that, we can show improvement. So I would say the alignment. The other piece would be the data analysis protocols. So I know that we had data analysis protocols in the past, every district has, as you should, but the way we dual purposed vertical team meetings and have a comprehensive data protocol that not only will we use at a district level, but at a school level and a teacher level, we have the same protocol. So we'll have a common language rather than this department using this protocol, this department using this protocol, this school using this protocol. So I would say that overall it's alignment, consistency, and it's systems level change rather than just one department.
And I think if I can, cause I was here and lived it and own it, we have done a lot of reflection. And there are similar pieces within the two plans because we do need to tier the schools, but the approach in which we give support had to change. And she talked about the alignment of teams. They're getting different messages from different groups of people. And I'm just gonna be very transparent and honest. We got an email last year from a principal, and it had a list of this many things that we are asking of schools, which is not just asking it of a principal, but in turn of their classified staff, their classroom teachers. This is a lot. And it made us kind of, yeah, it really is, across departments. And so this plan, whereas the plan last year you saw was delivered by academics. Dr. Catalano said, Dr. Williams-Leathers has been working on this with us collectively for weeks to ensure that it's not just one department. We are all on the same page and we know how to better support schools. And that is, less is sometimes more. If the main thing is the main thing and that's student achievement, this year we are trying to prioritize making sure they understand the new curriculum materials and utilizing those. And we are progress monitoring based on those things. And the support that is given to schools, principals were going to leadership and hearing from one individual. And assistant principals would go to leadership and hear professional learning from someone else. And while they're all great professional learning opportunities, it muddied the water when you got back into this. So what is it we're focusing on?
Because there was no continuity
There was
across
no
the board.
continuity, no ma'am.
So I understand that Dr. Leathers has been here and she's been out working and, contacting these principals. Are they part of your collaboration process? Were they helping you, come to this point and say, hey, I'm listening to you, let me tell you my ideals, especially principals or, people that turn around their schools and they continuously turn around their schools. Did you take their input into consideration when you came up with this plan?
So what we came up with it, that feedback was coming from Dr. Fields and her department, since they're the ones on the ground.
But no, the principals didn't have any input in this?
Not at this point, they'll be next week.
I've been in a lot of districts, interested when the district was at a low. How can 87 principals form a?
No, I'm not talking about 87 principals. I'm just saying, like you said, their feedback is, and that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom
That
of.
feedback will come next week. We're gonna have a conversation about our plan.
Okay.
I have, two concerns. First concern is, we got a preliminary data report back in the spring, right after the testing was over. I don't know the exact date, but I fudged, I printed it, what was sent that said, you can't print, you can't look. I did that one because my concern was that now was the time. So back then, when I, as a principal, got that preliminary data, immediately, what I would have done would have been, I would have started looking at that and where we were and what we needed to do then, so that when come August, we would have been kicked on the ground running and already identified. My concern is, when are school improvement plans due? You don't have to answer that yet, because I got more to go with it. And if the school improvement plans are not due until next week or when after we've already begun school, I've got a whole month of instruction. The other thing that I have found, and I think this is important and key, because I think over time, yes, I'm old school, and yes, I was there a long time ago, but I'll take you back. And I can tell you the most effective things that we've ever done in Cumberland County Schools is when we are digging deeper in that classroom and we're identifying those students by where they are, and then we teach where they are. So what happens is, you have to make sure that data instruction is not out here and everybody coming in to tell me what to do, but I'm looking at my kids. So I'm breaking those kids up. And one thing that I saw that was very effective previously was that what we did is, let's say, I use fourth grade teachers. The fourth grade teachers, by working together, then we identified and we aligned, and then what we could do is, I could take the kids that were here, you could take the kids that were there. And what we could do is, we could teach those kids and bring them up, because everybody doesn't come into that class with all the things they need to be successful. You have to take them from where they are. And I can tell you, it took me a very long time to convince a high school math teacher that you couldn't teach Algebra 1 if they did not have the basics. She said, I have to go by the book. I have to go by the curriculum. We have to start with the kids where they are. These plans that we're doing, these look good on paper. And I've compared the two, and I've compared the data. And my next question would be, is how successful was the plan? What did we see happen? And those, in those areas where we had repeat schools, staying on the low performance, and then those schools that had been jumped off and put back on now, what do we see? Are the same people leading those groups? And if they are, what have we done to make sure they know what to do? And are we just now catching up to that? I think we've missed a whole bunch of time that could have been, and I would say, the schools had different principals come in. Maybe there would be a time that you couldn't do something back in the spring, but I just guarantee you that we should have started this whole process. And as a former teacher, I taught biology. I had a test for biology. As a former teacher, I'm aware of what you have to do. As a former elementary school principal, and then as a former high school principal, I still believe that what we're doing is we're starting too late, and that's just my opinion.
We did start that conversation that you're describing about the digging into the students back towards the end of last year, actually, as we were thinking about scheduling and kind of seeing where data was potentially heading. We didn't see a lot of schools that were doing that level of digging in and really targeting instruction to the groups of the students that needed it. And so we have some new protocols in place for having conversations in PLCs, drilling down into the particular student data. And schools have a place in their schedule now where that level of re-engagement for the students who are below and pushing forward the students who are already proficient but sometimes are stagnant, right?
But you have to have
So-
you have to have a school leader that understands that and understands the approach to data. You have to have somebody that explains to that school leader what that all means. And it has to be somebody that understands it. And that way, then the teachers, once the teacher catch on that this how I'm going to improve this classroom is by not just looking at the classroom data, I've got to look at individual data. And that's where I think when these school improvement plans, which I don't know when they're due. I know by law, they have to have a school improvement plan. So whenever they're due, if we're gonna look at them twice a month, then by the time we get to the point of the urgency, when we take our first EVOS or take our first monitoring, we should have already been there, so that first monitoring, we'd have already looked at that child, where they were and where they should have been. But that's my concern, and I'm really concerned because every day we're faced with the fact that we have 27 low-performing schools.
Every day.
Every day. And then what we're also faced with is, why are we not doing a better job? And we're being very positive about these things, what we're trying to do and how we're using funding and how we've got more additional instruction. But the general public that we're trying to impress, that we're trying to keep the children in public schools, it's very difficult if we're not showing, and especially when you have schools that you came off and you go back, because that's where you start seeing the flight of all kids to another place, because they know that they don't want to stay in a situation where my child's going to be faced with that every year. So I know I'm not fussing with you. I'm not upset with you at all because you're doing what you think is best. I just think that if we don't do something and do it quickly and let our teachers know and our principals know that they got to be the ones to hit the ground running. Whatever's happening right now has got to happen in that school, that particular school.
Matt, to the school improvement plans, schools, when they did get the data, they had summer retreats and began working on their plans. There are plans in place. Some of them have already taken their plans and had them voted on by the staff, but we are reworking the plans because these are not supposed to be documents that this is it for the year. As we learn more, we make adaptations. And so last year, the plans were due. It was our cycle to bring all school improvement plans to the board for approval, and they were due to have that completed by December by state statute. This year, we will be bringing the low-performing plans to you, as well as those that have federal designations, and that you will be hearing more about that in October, how that process will work.
Thank you.
Yeah, now I've gotten so many, I'm kind of off kilter. I'm trying to go back to my notes. And I think at the crux of that, my question is, and I've already had this conversation with Dr. Bracy, so it's out here. If the right people aren't in place, they gotta go. And let me, I will say, I know you don't know me. I've never run a school. I don't have an administrative degree, so I've never been in the place of some of these principals. I watch them, but I've never done it. I have taught, and I felt like I was a great teacher, but it was because of great leaders in my building who gave me the opportunity to be a great teacher, so that I could teach all children, every child. But with all that said, that would be my bottom question. If the right people are not in place, you know, are we willing to take the steps to either guide them into greatness or take them wherever we need to go? And I've already had that answer from Dr. Bracy. He's ready to do what needs to be done for our children to be successful. So at that, I believe you. I don't have any reason not to. My question was, well, I've got several, but one is going back to the monthly vertical team meetings, which is for those who might be listening. That's when all of our principals meet together.
In their attendance area.
In their attendance area. Who leads it? I happened into one last week unexpectedly because I happened to go over to Eastover Central for a visit, and it had they were finishing up. So Who leads those instructional talks?
That's why we have asked for the time in the meetings, is because it was always principal led. Each vertical team, while we offered advice collectively, they're allowed to reach out to select departments. If it's a HR issue, they might ask Ruben to come to the next month's. If there's a transportation issue, so they're bringing in the supports, and people that they have questions for, but there was not a return on investment with that time. And so we asked, could we take a portion of that time, specifically 2 hours on a monthly basis, so that there is structured learning taking place in those vertical team collaborations.
Which would include looking at data.
It's looking at data and identifying those actionable next steps so that they know what they're accountable for. In this month period, we know what we're accountable for in order to help them achieve the goals that have been established.
And there were 5 principals left. Again, I just happened in. I thought, I've got time, I can stop in. And all 5 of those immediately, I know they thought I came to question them, which I did not. I mean, again, it was just a happen so that I was there. But all 5 of them were able to tell me where they were, what their vision was, where they were supposed to be going already. And then one of the questions, this was something else that popped in. Let's just say I'm at Jane Fields Elementary School and I'm an A school or I'm a B school and I am meeting exceeding growth, Obviously something's going on is right there. I don't know the situation, but my question is, are we gonna be so prescriptive that principals and those instructional leaders can't continue to do whatever it is, even if it's not the exact book that's supposed to be used? Am I making any sense whatsoever? I'm saying if.
You mean if it's an A school, do they have some empowerment to make some of the instructional
If
decisions?
things are going right already, are we gonna go in and change what they're doing? Am I making any sense?
Yes.
In other words, if this is my textbook, this is the math textbook. We come in this year, okay, I'm over here, I've already exceeded growth. My school is in whatever category that we consider successful. Are we gonna be so prescriptive that principal and those instructional leaders can't say, look at what we're doing. I've got proof this is working. And I say that because I hear that we've been so prescriptive that if you're not doing this, well, I'm not at the specialist today, because at this point, we need to continue to move forward. And I guess that sounds like the music teacher and me talking. I know what I'm talking about and I can't describe it, but if we have materials.
If it's working.
Are we gonna say, well, you gotta use that, you've gotta be on page 10, but my child needs to be on page 2, or my children could be on page 15? Am I making any sense at all? Is it that prescriptive? Because I have some heart issues, so I go to certain cardiologists, the special ones. I don't go to just the general practitioner and say, well, you just keep doing what you're doing. We do have some people who really do know what they're doing that are leading our buildings. I've listened to some of them and have been impressed. Matter of fact, another great example, football game, Pine Forest Cape Fear. Both of those high school principals are stellar. That's the best descriptive. They're standing at the fence collaborating on, what did you do? Here's what you did and so, I'm stealing that idea. So I know there's great collaboration going on there, even in a social event like that. I'm standing in the middle going, y'all, school's out, ding, ding, ding. They're like, nope, school's not out. We got high expectations. But my concern again is, are we gonna be so prescriptive that we don't have some flexibility?
I think you described that very well, so I think you did. And so we will not be so prescriptive. I think the better question too would be also, is it working for all kids in that building and what that looks like? And so then that comes out of those instructional data talks to look at like what subgroups may not be advancing the way that we want to, and then what would our instructional next step be with that? And the other thing that I just want to put on the table is that we do have all these curricular resources that we purchased, right? Math and literacy. and they're high quality. They ensure that our students have a consistent grade level education. And so when we don't know what our teachers are teaching, then that can mean that our students may not be growing, right? And so that can also impact some of our data. So we wanna really not be prescriptive, but we do wanna use our unit and lesson plans to the degree possible. Are we gonna go into a teacher's class that we know is teaching grade level content, they're using different materials, but it's actually working? No, right? But like if we see a teacher where we see certain subgroups of students that aren't performing, like let's really look at our lesson and unit plans and see how we can scaffold up or scaffold down to meet the needs of our students. So I think that comes back to the piece that Dr. Catalano talked about with customizing our support to meet their needs and really having the right instructional next steps for each individual school rather than saying, this is how we're gonna do it for everybody. Because our schools are they're very different.
They are very different.
Schools,
And teachers
yeah.
and grade levels.
I know once I asked about a needs assessment. Does every school have their own needs assessment to include conversations from custodians, cafeteria, teachers, students, all of them, and a compilation of that material to see what needs to be done? How can I be satisfied on my job? Because if I'm not working well in the cafeteria, it could be because of the children not getting what they need. Even though it seems small, it could be big in that process. So if they don't have a plan on what they did this year, how do they know to come out of low performance status? You know, do they have that plan that they can duplicate it if they came out of low performance? Or did they just willy-nilly get out of low performing because the children looked up and did okay this time? Or we changed the structure at DPI because we had a history of North Carolina doing well, and then we went into this thing where we didn't do well, and so now we're kind of changing things so that we can do well again, even though the students are doing poor.
And there is a comprehensive needs assessment that accompanies the school improvement process. And so every person in the building is supposed to have input into that through the vehicle of the school improvement team. And so that is one of the things that they're supposed to use as foundational data and development of their school improvement plan. We also we talked about Cognia, we do surveys, Cognia surveys in the school year. I think we did it in the spring last year, where we were not only asking for student input, all staff input, as well as families. And so those surveys will go out to stakeholders, and data and accountability helps us break apart that data so that that's yet another data source that's getting feedback from the various groups, like what you talked about, down to the custodial staff, the cafeteria staff. They all need to have a say-so in it. And I think if I could just, you talked about the schools flip-flopping back and forth, and I think we need to own that as a district as well, because we have never established very clear and concise that this is your goal. Everywhere you go this year, we met with CCAE the other day, and they said, Dr. Bracey's coming in from another meeting. We want Dr. Bracey to share his vision. I said, he shares it best, but I can tell you, before I could even get it out of the mouth, Ruben was there. They all started holding up 5. They know that we are focusing on student proficiency, and you can measure an individual child's growth from one form of assessment to another and progress monitor, but you can't guesstimate at the end of a year if you're going to meet or exceed growth. And that's what we have been banking on, and we shouldn't. We have to focus on proficiency, digging down, looking at those individual subgroups like we have talked around this table many a times, and drill down to the individual child and focus on proficiency, not taking a chance of, because if they exceed growth, even if their proficiency is very, very low, they're not low performing, but they've not increased student achievement either.
That's the
right.
Therein lies.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a question?
Yes. What do the area suits do anyway? Because when I looked at some
some had maybe 4 schools that didn't meet growth, 5 schools that didn't meet growth, and then you had one that only 3 made growth, all the other ones had failed. So what do they do?
Snapshot.
So the area superintendent, in this district has a lot of roles. They do supervise the schools, evaluate the principals, address the community concerns, parent complaints. We are responsible for the pipeline work, so I've divided up the team so that we're trying to build our bench, as we've called it in previous years, recruiting new assistant principals into the fold, new principals into the fold, and developing those leaders, among the other things. But on a weekly basis, they are in schools, getting direction. We're not the experts in curriculum. We're not the experts in behavior. We were basically former principals that, know how to lead a school building. So we're getting direction from the collaboration that is going to take place consistently and holding the schools accountable for doing the work that has been prescribed in those actionable next steps and providing the coaching and support they need in order to be able to do so. So that is what 80% of our work should be around coaching for school improvement.
Okay, another question. I have met with some friends and they talked to me about the IE block. What is that?
So that is the vehicle that we're asking schools to use to get at that individual student data analysis and grouping of the students. And we've called it out as a separate block because we had identified some situations where students, because of staffing, were being pulled out of core instruction. So if I was in my math block and I needed some additional instruction or support in math or ELA, I was being pulled out of my math block to get that additional support. And so we identified a block in time in the day where EC services are happening at that time. EL and AIG services are happening at that time. So students' core instruction is being protected. And it's an opportunity for 60 minutes in every day for students to get that individualized instruction targeted to their specific needs.
Okay, so you taking time away from the core classes. From what my friends were saying is that they don't understand it. They don't have a framework of what they need to do. And some of them saying that the art teacher is going in there trying to teach math. And that's not what an art teacher does. But a lot of them do not understand. And some of them said, to them, it's a waste of time. So I need to understand what it is. So when they come back and ask me a question, I can tell them.
Right, what it should be.
Yeah,
is
what
an
it should be.
Yeah, what it should be is an it should be an extension of the core block. So I'm getting more ELA, math, and science instruction in that block. If there is another person available at that time, I hope that that person isn't responsible for if an art teacher, it shouldn't be responsible for intervening in math. If there are students who are already proficient and need some enrichment and the art teacher is available, that should be their role, not giving intervention in math. Because all students are in the IE block and some of them need targeted intervention, some of them need enrichment or being pushed to the next level.
Well, I think some of them, somebody needs to explain it not only to some of the teachers, but also to the leadership of that school, to the school, so they know exactly what's going on or supposed to be going on.
Noted. And to piggyback off that, because I don't think there was a framework, because this was implemented back in April. Was it April? When was this implemented?
We started talking about it in April.
Okay, we started talking about it in April and then it was implemented for this school year, correct? So if it was a tradition, a year-round school, they had to start early, right?
Okay, so while we're out for doing the summertime, shouldn't whoever came up with this idea had some type of framework where they would take to these principals or these schools? Because if you're taking a 60-minute block, so that's gonna take some time off some of the core classes, which you said is not supposed to. But like Mrs. Bell is saying, I'm trying to get understanding of that because these principals are baffled. You know, the teachers saying that their lunch break or, you know, their planning is being, you know, cut short. These students are in there. If they are the EC students, where are the EC that the resource teachers that they usually go to? It is a menagerie of just a whole bunch of stuff going on that nobody understands. So therefore, if nobody understands it, if they don't understand it, it's not gonna be successful. It's just not gonna be successful. You gotta have some type of framework. This should have been, whoever came up with the idea, should have came with the framework to say, point A, this is what we do, boom, 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 boom. Just like Ms. Fields said, we're gonna own up to this. We didn't see this. We're gonna work on this. You just can't come up with stuff, throw it out there for the teachers and the principals to do it, and they're already doing all this other stuff, and you come up with another marvelous idea, and it's not working. It's just not working.
I have two things. Mrs. Williams spoke very well on it. And that alluded to the people that we have working, the people that we have in these positions, which is extremely, extremely important. You mentioned the area superintendents, Mrs. Bell. And we know that they're prior principals. You may not know, but the rest of us here do. We have, and I am not calling out any names, but we have selected and placed in positions people who themselves did not lead schools that were doing excellent, great, whatever terminology you want to use. This is something that we have to look at ourselves now and try to make some determination of correction, or we will, if we keep doing the same things the same way with the same individuals, we're going to get the same result. Hopefully not, but we will. Now, I'm telling you what I know. The other thing is, in all of these selections of instructional materials, were teachers allowed to be in on the selections, read them, analyze, discuss them. You all were able to show them how they would be effective in their particular schools, their particular classrooms, whatever subject areas they're teaching, overall period in instruction. So they were in on the selections as well as maybe some of the principals, instructional coaches, everybody.
So all staff were involved. We actually had the resources delivered to all 10 attendance areas, and there were spaces in those schools that were opened up for a couple weeks for anyone who wanted to come in and put their hands on the resources and materials. And then everybody had the digital links to look, if they couldn't make it there, to at least look at the online materials. And then they voted, right? Like, so it was all stakeholders voting.
And it was documented.
Yeah,
And they had,
absolutely.
you could see their names or whatever, that they had seen it, done whatever.
Yep.
They were supposed to do, observed it, read it, blah, blah. Okay,
And
thank
it
you.
would, I mean, they had to take it upon themselves to engage in it, right? But yeah, the opportunities were there, and many teachers and principals, assistant principals, coaches engaged in the process.
All right, thank you.
Typically, there's a committee selected.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Should I say something real quick?
Oh, okay.
You gave the initials of IE block. For everyone listening, could you actually say what it is? Name it?
It's intervention and enrichment block for core content areas. Yep.
I just have a couple of questions. The first one was, you said about this EI block that you have. Okay, how are they using the data during this time? Because if we having an art teacher in here teaching, what supplement materials are we using to for that block. So are y'all giving them their information or?
So we
Or
have,
you,
sorry.
so, yeah, so I'm just saying, so what are we using? So I know the gifted ed teacher, I know the gifted teacher, she has her curriculum and she's coming in and she's doing her thing. I know the ESL teacher, she's coming in and doing her thing. So what are we doing? Cause we're saying that we have a EI block to build up our IE, I'm sorry, IE block. Oh, I'm sorry, we call it intervention, just, you know, where I'm at. Yeah, intervention. So what are they using for that intervention?
Yeah, so clearly that's something we need to stamp with administrators, but we have a standard treatment protocol with resources that the instructional specialists have identified for intervention purposes.
So.
However.
Can I ask you before you begin? So you said the protocol, so we don't have like, any enrichment programs that we're using for them to use at this time?
We have not purchased an intervention program.
So, are they using the one that goes along with our curriculum?
Many of the pieces do go along with our curriculum. We've
Or
got
are the
some
teachers
foundational literacy materials that the specialists have pulled together from other areas as well.
So, okay, so right now we don't have no intervention program, protocols, nothing. Dr. Bryce?
I don't know what you mean when you say intervention program. What do you mean by that?
Any program. So if I'm doing intervention and my kids are low, then say like I might have a program where I'm gonna say math facts. So I'm using a math facts program to teach my kids multiplication because I know all these kids in this classroom do not have the multiplication
Math
skills.
is our universal screener, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean,
Would you consider that an intervention, Dr. Callahan?
Yeah, that for sure gives instructional data drilled down to.
And you have the data, but you don't have nothing to implement
We do.
the resources to implement the data. So right now, you're sitting on data with nothing to guide that data.
No, we've got something to guide the data. We haven't purchased a product that intervenes. In some cases, like we have Read 180 and Math 180 for our EC specially designed instruction. We have got very clear guidelines of if a student doesn't know their phonemes, this is the thing that you're going to use to intervene. So we do have that. We haven't purchased a separate product that comprehensively does that.
But that's what I just asked, that's what I just asked you.
And I mentioned the standard treatment protocol. That's what we call it.
Okay, so we do have a product that we use for our intervention programs at the middle, high, and elementary level.
Elementary and middle level.
So if I go into those what is it?
Yeah.
IE blocks. Right now, I'm gonna see them using our product.
Treatment protocol.
Dr. Fields.
Not in the classrooms pervasively that I've seen, and so that's the conversation that we're having. We have people right now that are struggling with planning around that block. I spoke with another board member about some of the concerns that she had been hearing, and I happened to be in a classroom and said, well, I'm looking at the same thing. So there are things that we're trying to work on with the principal and collaborate across teams. So
Thank you, Dr. Fields.
We do have it coming up in our next instructional coach meeting so that we can refine it to make sure, because to Dr. Fields' point, it's very inconsistent right now.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, cause I mean.
Yeah.
And so when we're looking at our data, well, let me go back. The Elliott, is that something that is given to the teachers? Or is that something that's given to the principals? How is that filtered down? I mean, is it something that you're using and you are, like you doing an Elliott, you filling it out and then you giving it back to the teacher so that they can see what's going on in their classroom? Or is it sending email? How is that?
The teacher can receive an email. There's a place in the online platform for you to send the feedback directly to the
So is it being
teacher.
sent to them so that they can see what's going on in there?
Principals are sending it to you. Yes.
Not just the principals, I mean, so you said that y'all are coming into these classrooms also using the Elliott as instructional coaches and different things like that. Are they sending those Elliots to those teachers when they're walking into their classrooms doing these feedbacks?
That's not been a consistent thing, what we are using the data for is looking at school-wide trends. So these are things that we saw
School-wide
across the
trends.
school.
Okay, I'm gonna, I know this is a key word, y'all got these key words, school-wide trends, understand that, but as the Elliott, if I'm a teacher and you're coming into my room and you're doing an observation, I'm standing in teacher's shoes, and you're doing an observation on me, and you're not giving me feedback, then how can I improve my instruction? So if Dr. Fields come into my room, she should be sending me my Elliott so that I can get that feedback. If, I'm sorry, I'm off of it.
Dr. Leathers.
Dr. Leathers, she come into my classroom, the principal comes into my classroom, all of those people should be giving me my feedback. That way I know what I need to, what I need to do to better my instruction.
I think that's something we'll take under consideration.
Because
The only concern I have is sometimes the relationship that the person may have with the teacher, and depending upon the feedback. And I know we wanna create a space of transparency, I get it, but sometimes you have to build trust first, and so.
But if you're not giving me my feedback on how I'm doing,
Yeah,
how can I better my instruction?
and so to Dr. Catalano's point, when we discover those trends across not just school-wide, but also grade level, PLCs, or even specific teachers, that's when the debrief with the principal comes in handy to be able to say, is this what you're seeing? Because it could be a one-off that we're seeing, and it could not be consistent, or it could be a consistent practice, and then what are our next steps with that teacher? How do we continue to coach that teacher?
Okay, y'all please look into that, because like I said, if you're gonna come in and do, you gotta be transparent. And so if you're not being transparent with that teacher, how can they get better?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, there's no way they can get better, especially if you coming in and you saying, hey, I'm using this tool. This is what y'all just said, I'm using this tool, and they're not getting the feedback that is needed for this tool. Or to do this. And then as we're looking into our data, I know y'all like the keyword, I'm diving deeply into my data. I'm diving deeply into my data. This is what y'all said. Are we using the backward designs where we're looking at the data and then going backwards to forward? Or how are we using that data? Because I hear a lot that y'all talking with principals and things like that, and you said that they're given to, the information is looking and seeing is going to the principals. So I'm just wondering, what are we doing to make sure that all teachers are on the same page? Because if in that school building, they're not all on the same page. And then also just looking at from school to school, because you have the elementary school that feeds into the middle school that feeds into the high school. So are we looking at it across the board, or how are we looking at this? We really looking, because I mean, I can dive deeply in the data all day long and still don't get nothing.
Absolutely, that's one of the reasons why we have the vertical teams, why we dual purpose those meetings. And that's why we have the protocol in place. So the principals, we are planning on, we're starting in October, y'all. So we have not started these yet. So this first one is October 2nd. So what we have is a folder for each principal and their instructional leadership team. Because it won't just be principals in the instructional meetings. They'll also bring at least one other member of their instructional leadership team for that collaboration piece. But they'll actually have multiple data pieces. So if I'm an elementary principal, I might have my MAP data, I might have my M-class data, I might have some common assessment data. If I'm high school, I would also have my NC check-in for biology. And so, but then also we'll have attendance data and discipline data all in one folder. So then they'll go through that entire protocol as an instructional leadership team with facilitators around. So the area superintendent and the data analyst from Ms. Nash's office will be in there to help walk through that process along with other support staff members from my team. So all those people, we then walk through it, the data, and then have those short-term instructional next steps. So like, this is my step from October 2nd to my next data instructional talk, which is November 2nd. And then we'll have to follow up for that mutual accountability. We all said the specialist would come in and do XYZ, the principal would follow up with XYZ, the instructional coach would follow up with XYZ. Did that happen? And that is part of what the area superintendent will follow up on during their weekly visits or bi-weekly visits with their principals. So all that data we'll look at comprehensively.
Okay, my last thing is, when we're talking about different schools, and I understand data is important and how we driven it, but as a school, and as y'all already said that our leader here is, Dr. Bracy. Dr. Bracy came in with the vision that 5 data points, y'all know this, my vision, this is my thing, this is where I'm supposed to be, this is where I wanna take y'all, I'm ready, I'm backing you, this is what I'm doing. And as a school, right now, a lot of our schools do not have that, that feeling in their school buildings. And so as the lead, we need to ensure that they are setting that standard, coming in and saying, hey, I know y'all are struggling, I know this is, things like that. And so we need to build that camaraderie in the school building, because it sounds like we're putting a lot on our teachers right now. What is it, what block, EI, whatever, IE block, whatever. And you're not, I'm looking at schools, people telling me that they don't have lunch, they're going to lunch with their kids and not getting a break, or the kids are not getting, I have parents saying that one school has homework, another school doesn't. So we need to make all of that consistent. If we're gonna have homework, we're gonna make it a consistency across our schools. That way, if somebody comes in and they're talking to Dr. Fields or they're talking to Dr. Jordan, I can say the same thing. But we do need to make sure that we are, Dr. Bracy, just making sure that we kind of
Create a positive school culture.
create positive school culture.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, I'm sorry. All right, I'm sorry. All right.
I did go. Yeah. I've been waiting, throw my pen in. This is circling back to the IE block. And obviously, there's some framework issues, it sounds like. I just based on that, which makes a lot of sense, because I have 2 7th grade grandchildren that I've asked them about it. And I was also a teacher at Mac Williams when we did something very similar in the middle of the day, where I was expected as a chorus teacher to be the instructional specialist, which was, I worked really hard at it, but I knew I was not meeting those children's needs. So there's my opinion on that. But the kids don't understand what it is. They truly don't, because I've sat them both down and we've gone through their school day, because I help support them. And I've said, so tell me what you do. One of them can tell me, I get pulled on Monday for AIG block. After that, they're doing worksheets, basically. And, my concern about that is, and I'm not saying you can't get, we know there's some use there, but if there's not instruction going on at whatever level, and the kids don't understand why they're there. And so one of mine is in a science classroom. So my concern is that gonna rotate? Should it not rotate so that each 9 weeks they're at a different block? Or can those teams be I guess the thing is there has to be some framework for support for those, not just because one of them shared that he thought there was some EC instruction. They're smart enough by 7th grade to figure out who's getting pulled. But I do have concerns about it, and one of those concerns that I talked to Dr. Brace about was if the laptops come back out. If you're gonna sit on a laptop and do work, I'm not for it. So my concern is the framework, how it's structured, but the kids have to understand why they're there. Because they, when I said, let's look at the data, let's look at where we were last year in 6th grade, whatever class it was. And so we want that to improve, right? Well, they're both in agreement. They want to do better. So I think they will, but they don't know why they're there. So it's not just a teacher understanding, it's a child. The only way I ever had success in my classroom is if I could get the children to buy into it. If they didn't buy into it, I was just up there talking. And so that's my concern, is that the framework is one that works, or we can see success as it moves forward, but do the children understand why they're there? If not, I hope we'll step back and say, I don't know if this is gonna work or not. So that's just my thoughts. Again, that's based on 2 12-year-olds who are going to school every day in the middle school level, where we are desperate across the board. As far as I'm concerned, we're desperate, seeking help in those middle schools. All right, now hush.
Everyone knows I go back to policy, so I'm going to Policy Code 1010, Board Authority and Duties, and I'm just gonna read line 1. Providing every student with the opportunity to receive a sound basic education as defined by the North Carolina Supreme Court, Leandro versus State. It seems like in the past, because we were just at 27 low performing schools the year before last, and we're back in the same spot. And it just seems like every department was doing their own thing and it was disjointed. And I hope to see that everyone's coming together for the greater good of the children. But I want to take it back to the instructional coaches. Whose idea was it to take the instructional coaches out, and then did the data support that? Because the board had no clue until it was already done.
So you're referring to the district instructional coaches we had supporting our secondary schools? I don't know, Ruben, you want-
The district instructional
Did the
coaches.
data support it? If we're collaborating across departments.
The data did not support in all areas, and the main reason was the capacity of those coaches, because they were spread so thin amongst our schools, and their ability to provide that support for all schools. So they were not coaches that were specific to every school. A lot of them were paired with other schools. So no school had their own coach. The other feedback that we received from principals was it's difficult for them to work with an instructional coach that does not report to that individual principal. They were reporting here to the district office and not ingrained in the day-to-day operations of the school. And so that's one of the reasons why the decision was made to end that particular coaching program. And that was just specific for middle schools. And Mr. Tolan did share also, we're also looking at the needs within the school, and there were vacancies within our schools. And so some of the feedback we had received throughout the district was we were taking our highest achieving teachers out of the classroom to come to what was essentially a central services role. And so our focus was trying to get those teachers back into schools, either in a teaching capacity or in a coaching capacity, where they could work directly under the leadership of the principal and be part of that leadership instructional team.
Well, this is what I'll say. Well, you may have had input for some of them, but for a lot of those principals, they were not happy with that move. And it wasn't discussed with us, it was already done. Right. So, was it the majority of the principals?
Yes, ma'am. We did a survey as part of a budget review to ask input from principals, and specifically that was one area that came up of concern. I think what the principals really wanted was additional funding. They wanted to have them hired at their school. They wanted 100% coach, and from a staffing and budget perspective, we were just unable to do that, to provide additional funding for every school K through 12 to have 100% instructional coach.
Okay. Thank you. My next question is, I'm gonna go back to the intervention enrichment block, the IEB. And are the principals and teachers being trained, or is it ongoing training?
So at system-wide PD, actually backing up, so principals had been involved in the conversation since April. So we had conversations about scheduling, what it would look like in leadership. In system-wide PD for year-round teachers and for the traditional teachers in August, year-round in July.
Sorry.
Traditional.
We got information that that's not true. Some of the principals said that's not true.
Okay.
Okay, but go ahead. I just wanted to put that out there, cause some of the principals and stuff that we talked to and stuff, I'm sorry. Ooh,
So we did do system-wide PD sessions for every teacher in the district. Coaches had coach summer in leadership for coaches that they came in, they got the same thing that teachers got. So the coaches heard, what is it? What are the data points that we can use for it? That standard treatment protocol with the interventions and things like that. They unpacked as coaches, and then they unpacked it with their teachers. This month, coaches dug into the MAP data and had conversations with the specialists about how they could leverage the MAP, the NWEA MAP data to support IE blocks. And then we've got, as Dr. Leathers pointed out, plans to circle back with the instructional coaches and with leaders moving forward. We know it is new. There is a plan and a structure to it that we are realizing now we need to dig far deeper in with the different stakeholder groups. And we've got a plan to do that.
So when is this plan supposed to start? Because it's kind of late in the game, because we're
It started in July. The PD sessions. We've
Okay.
got the slides that we can share.
Okay, I do have another question, hold on. How many curriculum specialists do you have?
Just core content curriculum specialists, 18.
18, and how long was it before principals knew who their curriculum specialists were? Because I was hearing that they didn't know well until school started. Shouldn't that have been known before school have started?
Yes, we had collaborated and shifted some things around to align with the area superintendent, so they did get it a little bit later this year.
Okay, now I'm gonna take it back to accreditation to cognitive. That very last page about not doing well with African American students, ESL, and students with disability. With this new plan in place, hopefully, are we going to see where we have an improvement in those and hoping to close that achievement gap? Because that's where we really did bad.
Yes, ma'am, that is the hope, by drilling down to the individual student and those subgroups to see, back to Ms. Williams' question, to see like, even if you're doing well, what subgroups are still not performing? And then in some of these other schools, which subgroups do we need to prioritize and which ones are duly identified and belong to multiple subgroups, right? So that we can make sure that we're meeting each individual student. For us to move our schools, it's not enough to focus on any one subgroup. We need to focus on the subgroups that each individual school has to focus on. We can't just say overall, this is our subgroup that will focus, because we have TSI schools, CSI schools that have certain subgroups, but then we have other groups that we need to focus on. So for me, it's how do we improve every individual student and give them what they need? And the big piece of that is to be very strategic with how we align all of our systems to make sure that the teachers, the instructional coach, the assistant principals, the principals, and central office are in alignment with what that looks like. It is gonna take some time to all the points here, right? Like, we have a lot of systems that have been operating in silos. And it's gonna take some time to make sure that we're all on the same page. It doesn't mean that we throw out something that may be good in the long term, just because we're having a rough patch right now, why we continue to get everybody on the same page. So I do ask for a little bit of patience while we work through some of these bumps, because we know they're here, but we also know that this spot was vacant for at least a month and a half, even though I tried to work remotely a little bit while I was working out my notice in my other position. So I just asked for that, but that is how we'll get to it, I think, is by the individual students and making sure that we know who those students are what they need, and if there's a particular subgroup that we then need to bring in a specialist for at these schools to say, this particular school needs help in this area, and we need you to provide the support by doing X, Y, Z, based on their data analysis.
Thank you, Ms. Musgrave.
Well, now, the cognitive report did refer to African American students and what we're not doing for them. And the indication from the results that we got last week on test scores show that they were the lowest on the totem pole. So are we doing any simple staff development like elements of instruction, learning style, differentiating, those kinds of things, because we know that's how some children learn. And I can really say from my experience in the classroom, 40 plus years, that children don't learn verbal linguistic. You got to have something in front of them for them to work with and everything. So if that kind of staff development is not coming to them, not only are the children losing, but teachers too. So if we could think of going back to some of those different methods, that might help in getting things straight for some of the students.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
And letting them buy into what is happening.
Is there any way we can get a copy of the Elliott, the protocol, and something else that y'all had said?
The standard treatment
The standard
protocol,
yeah, the standard treatment protocol.
and then we
And
will
the
share with
Elliott
you
and
the
Elliott,
presentation.
Yeah, and so that the people, they could actually see what it looks like.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Musgrave.
Are there other questions?
I'd like to welcome you. Thank you. I mean, I think this was a very informative.
Very.
I have total confidence in you. What you presented, it seemed like we're on the right track. I can see along the way, there may be some things that need to be changed. Maybe they're people or whatever. But, like I said, you're coming into this. I welcome any ideals. I think we're on the right track with you, and welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
I really
I'd
appreciate
like
that.
to ask for, this is just for me, my district number 1. I'd like to ask if you all could secure for me the days and times that they have their faculty staff meetings.
By school?
School, by school, yes. Each school that's in my district. Thank you.
I would like to make a comment too about that, those who are listening in will know. We keep talking about the 27 low performing schools, but they need to know that Dr. Bracy came into that.
Yes,
He
didn't have anything to do with it.
27 low performing schools.
Yes.
He is modest. And hate to say it just like that, but the fact is that he did not have anything to do with the 27 low performing schools. So whatever help we can get.
Yeah, and that's why
Yes,
I wanted to
yes,
comment on Dr. Leathers Williams that, thank you.
And all that we said was not directed at any of you in like a mean da-da-da-da way, but we have a job to do, and that's to get those schools where they need to be. So thank you.
I'll have that job.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
thank
at the
you.
end of the day,
It's at the
they
end of
look
the
at
day,
us.
yeah, they do. They said the board,
They
so.
look at us, even though they don't understand it, they look at us.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No.
No.
This committee, you just,
I'm good? Stay.
she closed it out.
That was a received item, so 1.07 is to consider other committee concerns. I know we've had a long conversation, so in this year, something that you like.
No, ma'am, I don't have anything else to say. I appreciate all the feedback.
Bless her heart. All right, well, we adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, and before we do personnel, can we take 5 minutes for just a quick break? I mean, literally 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay. to, oh, I'm sorry. We're back on. Thank you. I'm gonna call the Personnel Committee meeting to order. If you've not joined the committee, if you'll do that, please. Members are myself, Dr. Hales, Ms. Musgrave, and Ms. Warner. And our first item, good morning, Ruben. I'll say that first also. 1.02, consider adoption of the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Ms. Warner made the motion and Dr. Hales is the second. We can vote. I did not.
I did not.
Didn't come in.
Could we do a raise of hands now? All right, that's unanimous.
1.03, consider approval of the August 28th, 2025 Personnel Committee meeting minutes. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Warner seconded. We'll take a vote.
I'm not sure why it's not popping up. Do a raise of hands. That's unanimous.
Do we need to go back out and come back in? It was not doing what it usually does. It was gray instead of, you know how it looks like it's. Maybe if we go back out. Now I've got to pop up. Are we good? Okay. Just a second.
I got it. Yeah, it came back.
Okay. 1.04, consider approval of personnel. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review that list. It looks like the standard.
Yes, ma'am, and it's quite long, you know,
Yep.
I told you at last committee, you would see the next 2 or 3 would be quite long as we're processing all new hires.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve list of personnel.
Motion by Ms. Warner, second by Ms. Musgrave, and we'll take a vote. Did I get anything?
No.
I didn't get anything.
Dr. Hills, you didn't either?
No.
Did you get one, Miss? You did?
I did too.
Ms. Musgrave and Ms. Warner. I'm not sure what's going on, just raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous.
I can raise, I don't mind raising my hand, that's just. Okay. 1.05, consider approval of leave of absence request and special leave of absence. Any questions about the list for Ruben? Okay, I'll call for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Ms. Warner made the motion.
Second.
Ms. Musgrave's making the second. She's like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it or not. Here we go. Now I got it.
No. Got it.
Okay? Got it.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. 1.06, consider approval of limited license applications.
Good morning again. For this particular item, these are all staff members in our district, teachers who are going through their residency pathways. So these individuals have completed all of their program requirements. So they've done their 3 years of teaching and they've graduated from their educational programs. They are still working through testing. So these are individuals who may have not passed their tests, or they're still working through their EdTPA, which is that portfolio process. The state board does have a licensure option for these individuals where they can receive a 3-year license that's renewable, but the renew is based on effectiveness. So anyone who comes forward for a renewal would have to show growth with above -2 on average for the years that they've worked, and have good evaluation data, and that's all tracked both by Human Resources and sent to the state board. This initial application does require a review on effectiveness and does require principals to attest to the fact that these individuals are effective teachers based on the data that they've supplied. So we're just asking for the board's support and consideration.
Have any questions?
We had a few, didn't we?
We did.
Yes, ma'am, we sure did, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, you're
You know,
correct.
does that cut down on the number of vacancies that we have?
It does, yes, ma'am, because these individuals, if we did not apply for a limited license, they would not be eligible to receive a license, receive teacher pay. And those would be 60 vacancies we would have, yes, ma'am.
Yes, so how many vacancies do you have?
I'm gonna get back to you off the top of my head. We were probably in the 50s. I don't have a general number because it's kind of trying to shoot a moving target, but yes, ma'am.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve 1.06.
Second.
And I've got, she's giving it to Ms. Musgrave. We'll take a vote.
That's you.
1.07, consider approval of administrative recommendation.
Yes, this is before you is a recommendation for an assistant principal position. It is a part-time assistant principal, part-time instructional coach. The position was posted, the school principal and their team interviewed and submitted the recommendation, and this is the recommendation that was sent to us as a cabinet. And superintendent has reviewed that, and that is here for your consideration.
I have
Madam
I'm
Chair.
sorry, I have a question. When it comes to these 50% positions, does that actually work out where you have 50% AP and then curriculum specialists? Doesn't one take more time than the other, or does it balance out?
I think in the long run, it balances out, but I think during different times of the year, maybe the responsibilities are a little bit different. I think the focus is always on instructional leadership. So someone that has that instructional capacity, a lot of our instructional coaches, and I believe probably 100% serve on the school's instructional leadership team anyway. And so I think some of those duties do overlap, yes, ma'am. But I think it's an ebb and flow throughout the year.
Thank you. Was it Dr.? Did you
It
have a
was.
question?
I was just going to ask, if she had been fully vetted, especially by the previous principal.
Yes, ma'am. So, and we require that as part of our hiring process. So anyone hiring from, any position, we require the previous principal to have been contacted and provide a full reference. And there was a follow-up from our school support team to ensure that that happened. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can I get a motion for approval?
Motion to approve administrative recommendation.
And that was Ms. Warner and second by Ms. Musgrave. We'll vote.
Okay, that's it.
That'll
When
work.
you see that, okay.
Okay, Okay, 1.08. I'll make a motion to go into closed session to preserve the confidentiality of matters protected from disclosure pursuant to GS 115C 319 and GS 143 318 11A1, and to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to NCGS 143 318 11A3. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Musgrave, and we'll take a vote. We are in Ruben, do you have any other committee concerns?
No, ma'am, do not.
All right. I will adjourn the personnel committee meeting.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next meeting, which is a committee meeting, is 7 October at 8:30. If you can't be here in person, please join us. And the meeting is now adjourned.